Hi folks, and welcome to this episode of Michael's Backyard Marina. I'm kind of doing a little special request today on finishing off some knife blades. What I have here is these Damascus knife blades. This is more a kukri style of blade tip on this particular one. It doesn't have a handle yet. I'm going to show you what I do to create and put a handle on this type of blade. This one I'm going to do in walnut. I got some walnut pieces that I've cut here. I've got some beautiful pattern. It looks like this is going to look really good on the knife. I'll show you how, I'll walk you through the process on how I do that so that we end up with a beautiful knife like this. This is a 512 layer Damascus blade with a lignum vitae handle. That's natural, the natural wood color once it oxidizes. Just look at the detail on that and how pretty that turns out. Just makes a gorgeous knife, makes a gorgeous handle. I love doing all different types of wood. I like bloodwood, lignum vitae, walnut, hard maple. It turns out really, really nice. And several other styles of wood, cocobolo, different things like that. So I'm going to walk you through one, show you how I do it. And there's lots of ways to do it, lots of ways to put a knife handle on. There are wrong ways. I'm just going to show you the way that I do it. So you get the idea of if you want to buy your own blank blades, that's a tongue twister, and finish off a knife for yourself. I've got several different blades here that I'm going to be putting handles on. This one, this kukri style blade is one that I've selected because I really like the shape of that blade. It's just a neat blade. So I want to put a handle on it for you guys and show you what it looks like done, because it really takes an amazing transformation once you got just a plain steel blade, and then once you get a nice beautiful finished handle onto it, it gives you something really nice to hold on to. Gives you some, I like myself personally, I like thicker handles. I like to be able to grip a hold of it. You know, got some real control. You can use it for skinning. You can use it for cutting, doing whatever you want out in the field when you're hunting, fishing, whatever you want to use it for. Just a beautiful tool. So let's get started. Okay, our next step is, while we're putting this knife together, is we need to protect this cutting edge. It's sharp. It's not finished sharp yet, but it's sharp enough, and you don't want to damage it while you're handling it. So the simplest thing to do is take some masking tape, and it seems to work really well. Is kind of, we'll just wrap this around. Whoops, see, it's sharp. And just wrap it around your blade like this. Protects you from getting cut, protects the edge of the blade from getting damaged. Let's do that now. Now you can handle it. Don't have to worry about getting cut. Then, once you picked out your piece of wood and how you want to lay it out, allow yourself a little extra. You can design this with a straight cut across the wood, or you can have a curved cut in here. It's all in what you decide you want to do. But allow yourself some extra woodworking area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this on here, and then let's see here, and we'll trace around it, something like that. I find it easier once you get it in position. Put a little clamp on it to keep things from wiggling around on you. Then just go ahead and trace around it like that. And once you're done, it doesn't hurt to mark it. I put like inside, so I know that goes to the inside. And that'll be covered up anyway. Then do the same for the other side. All right, next step is we're gonna bandsaw the scales out. So now I have the layout on the board. So now we'll bandsaw it out. We're not trying to cut it right on the line. We want to leave extra material all the way around. First thing I'm going to do is I got a couple holes. I'm going to put 2 pins in this particular one, and maybe I'll do 3. We're going to drill this one out first to see how easily it is to drill out. As you can see, that drilled out real nice. I like using 1/4-inch pins, brass pins, because they just look beefier and just a nice, healthier, what I want to call a healthier pin when you stick it in there. It just looks proportionate to the knife blade. I don't know if you can see that very well. So we got that one drilled. Let's drill 2 more. Now that we got our holes where we want them in the blade, and we got our brass pin so it slips through like we want, it's time to drill the wood. This is why you marked when you marked it on where it says inside, so you can make sure you lay this on here right. So you're going to lay it out on here where you traced your lines around, so everything looks pretty and lined up. You got wood sticking out around all the way around your blade. That's important. When I say sticking out past the blade here, because we'll finish that off. Then we'll clamp it. You want to clamp it so that nothing slips or slides around on you while you're drilling the hole through the wood. It's very important that these holes line up just dead on. That way when you're putting it together, all 3 of the holes line up. You don't have to put any extra stresses on your wood. So let's go ahead and drill the hole through the wood now. A lot of times what I like to do is after I get the first hole drilled, I actually typically like to push that pin in there like that. It has a nice fit. But between that and the clamp, it keeps things from wiggling around on you in case it decides to try to do that. Now that we got all 3 holes drilled in, you can see the handle starting to take shape now. We got 3 holes in there. We will drill the other handle, the other half. The next important piece is now we want to put these two together face to face. So I've got them laid out here, put my pen in, and we'll put these together face to face like that. We'll line the holes up. I like to put 2 pins in now at this time. So that way we know everything lines up. And we got it. Got all 3 holes are lining up beautifully. We know they'll line up on the handle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start finishing this in, because once it's on the knife handle, it's hard to put any kind of design or anything in this area. So we'll finish this part up next. I'll show you how I do that. All right, the next step in the process is a lot of hand sanding. And I've got different grits, 220 all the way up to 600, that I sit here and I work these surfaces down and get them so they're slick and smooth, and they actually start taking on a little bit of shine. So when you get down to this level, now you're starting to see a little bit of the wood and the shine come out of the wood. Just makes for gorgeous. You can't feel the pins. It's smooth. The back is smooth. Everything is slick on all sides. It's just feels wonderful in the hand because it's just so slick. You can start to see some of the iridescent look coming out. I don't know if you can see that. And some of its natural color coming out in this walnut that just has some kind of like a pearlescent effect to it. So spend quite a bit of time getting this down to where you think you like it, and to where you think it's like good enough or better than good enough. And just work the whole surface. And I can spend as much as 45 minutes to an hour just on one handle, just getting it so it's the way I like it. And once you get it down that slick and smooth, then we'll be ready for a finish. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean it up with a rag here. We'll wipe it down, get rid of any excess dust in the corners, any excess dust on the whole thing. Just give it a good wipe down. Okay, what I need to do next, folks, is that this wasn't even here, so I sanded it even. We'll lay it out on the blade here. You can see where it's going to fall out on the blade if it was put together. I actually want to take this face back just a little bit more, so I'm going to sand a little bit more off of it. I've got them put together, and one thing you want to make sure when you're doing the sanding is make sure that you're perpendicular this way and this way. This is a nice square corner here on both sides, because if you don't, when you put your knife together, it's going to look like one side's offset from the other. And uniformity and symmetry is what makes a knife look really beautiful. So let's sand a little more off on here. let's see what it looks like. Now I'm back a little bit from this face. I don't know if it's easy to see here, but you can see where I'm going to have a little bit of straight area here before the handles hit. That's exactly what I want. Now let's put the radius on. Okay, as you can see, I've got a little bit of curve in there like I want. I've got laid on the handle. I actually got the pin through it right now. So you can start to see how it's going to start to take shape and where it's going to lay out on the handle. I think it's going to look pretty good right there. This blade has a, on the back side here, you can see the shape of the blade, how it comes out and around. I think that's going to blend in really nice on this side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another radius on here with my corner rounding bit because it's easier to do it now and it's almost impossible to do it afterwards and get it uniform. So I'll show you what I do there. Now when you're doing this with a router bit, you can see how I've got the ends nice and rounded off on this part now. That's the part that'll go against the blade. They're matched up because I got the pins lined up. They'll match up when I'm done. One thing you got to be very mindful of is watch your wood grain, which direction your wood grain is going, because when you're cutting across here, you could actually have that bit just chip out a big piece. And then you're starting over again, which is no fun at all. I've done that several times. I've learned from experience. Slow and steady wins the day. So take your time, take it easy, don't try to go too fast. Okay, now we're going to put it together. So what we're going to have is some epoxy, two-part epoxy. I've got a little metal block here. When you're driving the pins through the handle, they need to have room to come through the other side. I've got some C-clamps here to clamp it together. I've got some wax paper to keep the glue from sticking to my clamps. And so I've carefully laid this out to where I've got the handle here. The process I want to do is I'm laying them out like this and like this so I can put glue on everything and then put it together. And then we'll drive the pins in. So I've got a little supply of popsicle sticks and glue. So we'll go in here and go to mix your epoxy up. That's probably more than enough right there. Put the cap on. I'll mix this up nice and thoroughly. Got it mixed up. We'll start putting some, I like to smear the glue and we'll squeeze out the excess. We'll cover the whole handle like this. So we got a nice good coverage. And then stick your thumb in it like that. That's awesome. That's why you keep a rag handy. Then we'll go ahead and lay this one on top of here. and push a pin in so we get it lined up. The other thing I should have done is I like to put some glue on the pin. That way as it's going in, it'll build up around it. Give us a nice finish around that outside edge of the pin there. So it's all sealed off, clean and smooth. Number 2. Number 3. Now we got that pin started. Glue off my table here. That's where the wax paper comes in handy. As you can see, I've already got glue all the way around the outside here. It's looking real good. I'll go ahead and smear some glue on the inside of the next one. Let's get that glue. This is a good 3,400 pound epoxy. 3,400 psi, I should say. Once we got that on there like that, now what I like to do is get this first pin kind of just a little bit through like that. That helps me line things up. So when I there I go, stick my fingers in it again. That way when I put it on here, I can feel it line up like that. There we go. So now once I got that pushed through, here, we'll go ahead and put the rest of them through. Looks good. There we go. Got them all through. Now what I like to do, let's go past just a little bit. Take a little more of this glue and kind of put it around the pin on the opposite side. Get that down around in there like that. Hope you can see that. Glue down all around these pins, looking good. I'll tap them back through a little bit. And everything looks good. It's got glue all the way around everything like I want. Looks pretty good. I like the way that's looking. Then the next thing I do is I'll take some wax paper like this before I put my C-clamps on. Put your C-clamp somewhere near the middle of it, and then we'll give it a little squeeze. I'm going to show you here. This will show up. And as I tighten it down, you'll see a little bit of that glue start to mash up. So do it on this side. You can see it again or not. So that glue is starting to come out all the way around, which is what you want. That pushes them scales down nice and tight against the steel. Makes a great bond. Let's see on the end here. Let's see if I can get some glue to come out. Yeah, there we go. If you can see that okay or not. We're getting some glue to come out around that. Oh, looks great. It's going to fill in real nice any little gaps it might have. We'll grab one more clamp here. Put one around this end here. Now, what you want to make sure you do, while the glue is still wet, is wipe up any excess glue around this edge here. You see where it's come out around here? I want to clean that off now. So that's a lot harder to clean up when it's dry. That's good and clean there. Let's clean this side off. Like I said, once that glue sets up, it's hard to get that good and clean down in there, and you want that to be a nice clean zone. There we go. I'll give everything just one more tweak. Let's make sure everything's good and tight. And now we'll let that glue cure. I believe this stuff here is a 24 hours for a full cure. So in 24 hours from now, we'll come back and we'll start sanding and finishing off that blade. And that's how we attach our handle. Okay, now we have the knife ready to sand and finish the handle. I've got my custom designed, homemade. I designed it myself, built it, had a machine shop, a friend of mine machine all the parts for me since I didn't have a CNC mill. He does. And he was able to design all the parts, or build all the parts that I designed, and I've assembled it to make this belt sander. It's a quick change. You pop the belt on and off pretty quick. Whoops. Let's pop it off. On and off real quick with just a push of a handle. Works really well. We're going to get after this thing and see what we can make it look like. Now I'm going to see if you guys notice something different from when I started the video to where I got to this point in the video. If you notice any significant differences, please comment below and let me know what you think you saw. And I'll let you know if you're right or wrong. All right, we've got it knocked down, all the big rough edges off of it. We've got the pins sanded down. We got a little bit of glue left on here. We'll get after that here in a second with a little more sanding. Let's do that right now. Let's just knock that little bit off. All right, now I'm running what grit belt is this? It said on here, 80 grit. Running an 80 grit belt on here. They can be pretty aggressive, so you want to be, I'm using very light touches on things. I'm going down until I just see a little bit of sparking. I'm just touching the metal. And what I'll do is I'm sorry, I don't have it up in place. So what I'm doing here is I'm touching it lightly with this 80 grit belt. It can remove a lot of metal and a lot of wood real fast, so I'm using very light, delicate touches on it. And I'm going down till you just start to see some sparks fly like you saw off the belt. And you see I still got some glue, so I'm just now starting to kiss the metal all the way around it. And what I'll do from here is I'll go over to my other finish sander, drum sander, and I'll work this down and get it so it's a little bit finer. So I get all the sanding lines in the same direction. We'll put the routed edges on it. I like to do that like about this point in time in the process. The advantage to that is when I run my drum sander, when I got the rounded edges, it takes it down, so I'm only playing around with it in the middle, this much area. I'll show you that when I get over there. All right, let's go over to the router. All right, now we're ready to, we got these sides nice and smooth and pretty. We're gonna round and soften these edges up, and then we'll go to the drum sander. The preliminary shape. It's looking pretty good. Now we'll go to the oscillating drum sander. All right, now with the 1.5-inch drum on the oscillating drum sander, I'm going to work down these edges to get them nice and finished looking. Then I'll go back to the router and just give it one last kiss around the router. I think that'll be it. of showing the metal, the backbone and everything. It's looking pretty special. Okay, now what I like to use here is I've got this Formby's tone oil finish with a low gloss. That's what I prefer to use. So what we're going to do is just take a little bit of that. I put on my paper towel. Just a little bit like that. Kind of soak it in the paper towel a little bit like that. And then we'll work it into the knife. And we'll just rub it around the handle. And as you can see, it starts to shine and the beautifulness of the wood grain starts to pop out on it. I work that in the whole handle. Get down into this area with it. You gotta mash it down in that corner to make sure you get that finish down in there like you want. It protects the wood, seals the wood. Just makes a beautiful finish out of it. And this is something you can put more than one coat on. Typically what I tend to like is the one coat's usually enough to achieve the finish that I like. And make sure you get it everywhere here. And just work with the grain of the wood. Just stroke with the grain of the wood there. And once you feel like you've got it covered well enough, and everything looks exactly how you want it, like that, we stick it in the holder and let it dry. As you can see there, we've got a couple of them going. Well, we've got one of them going. That one's done. We got some other knives that are going to be next. That's the process I use for finishing the handle. Next, I'll show you what I do to put a little bit sharper edge on the blade. Okay, one of the final steps I like to do when I put an edge on my blade is here I have about a 6-inch diameter leather wheel. Now this is multiple pieces of leather that I've glued together, cut into a circle to make basically what I would call a stropping wheel. I mean, remember back in the old days when the barbers used to take their knives or razors and go back and forth on the leather strap that would put a fine honed edge that was good enough to shave with. That's the kind of edge I like putting on things, but this lets me do it with ease and fast. Now you always want to make sure this wheel is running in a direction opposite of your blade. So if this blade is laying here like this, you want it to be spinning in this direction. If it spins in this direction, it will catch and throw it out of your hand faster than you can blink. The other thing I use on it is a little bit of this buffing rouge. It's a standard polishing buffing rouge, very light abrasive. So I'll show you how I normally use it. Put a little buffing rouge on. Then we take the blade and we just that's all you do. There'd be a little buffing compound on there. You can clean that off, but as you can see, after you do that, it will shave with ease. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode of how to finish a knife handle. This is just some of the techniques that I use. Not saying they're right or wrong. There's much of ways to do it. This is just the way I do it. And maybe give it a try. It's not that hard. If you mess up,
you know, you can always pop the handles back off and try another set of handles on it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something from it. I will continue to do these different types of videos. I enjoy doing them for people. Pick up on some techniques, some different hobbies, different things to do. So get out there, get fishing, get knife making, do whatever you enjoy. Life's short. Get out there and have some fun, folks. As you can see, it's a little cold out here. You can probably see my breath. Yeah. But I'm wearing my normal attire. I got my shorts on. This is my winter gear. So next we're going to work on something else out in my shop. Stay tuned. And get out there and have some fun. Thank you for watching my videos. Please subscribe or hit the thumbs up button if you like what you see. Have a great life.